All right, everybody, you saw it yesterday, 6A rankings, 25 through 1. We finished them out, and now Professor Diggs is here to stick up for himself and talk about what he feels was right and what he feels, well, he won't feel anything was wrong, but I'll tell him what was wrong. Let's start off as we pull up your top 25. Again, just like 5A Division I, you had mentioned we all know who the top three teams are going to be, but how they come out is up for interpretation. You have Duncanville, South Lake Carroll, and DeSoto. Explain how close those three are and why you picked Duncanville as number one.
I mean, Duncanville, it speaks for itself lately. They have just been so talented, and they're bringing back so many core players. I think a key for me with Duncanville in the big picture is going to be on the offensive side of the ball. I think they have some big questions at quarterback that they have to address. But the defensive side of the ball is completely stacked. And defense wins championships, especially in December. And I think that will go a far way. I think it's going to be one of the most fascinating 11-6A storylines is going to be Duncanville's offense or Duncanville's defense against DeSoto's offense, because DeSoto's offense is as good as I've seen DeSoto's offense probably since back in the early 2000s when they had their big run and their state title. DeSoto, they won 7-on-7, and I don't think that was coincidence. People talk about no correlation between 7-on-7 and 11-man football, but DeSoto's talent on the offensive side of the ball, especially with the transfer of the Cedar Hill quarterback. I mean, we are talking about one of the better offensive sets in a while with DeSoto. Then you got South Lake Carroll. I mean, you got Caden Anderson coming back, Owen Allen, who is about to set the DFW rushing record, going to knock your boy Eno Benjamin out of the all-time high rankings, according to the Dallas Morning News and some good article they had out this past week. It is going to be fun with these three. But again, I think Denton Guyer is right there, even though we're not talking about Denton Guyer at number 4. I think all 4 of those are legitimate state title contenders and have a really good chance to be playing for a state championship or playing the week or before the state championship.
Another thing I noticed as we pop it back up again, your top 25, there is not one, not two, but 6A teams in your top 20. Talk about the strength of that district and how 6 teams made it in the top 20. And not only that, 2 of them aren't going to be in the playoffs according to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been incredibly, when you start watching these teams and they start playing non-district, I think last year there was one point where when it was a 7-team district with Little Elm, I think there was like 19-2 or something in non-district. I mean, this was a non-district schedule. They're just beating everybody. This year, I believe they've leveled up a little bit, so I think they're going to be playing some more competitive non-district opponents. But I mean, this is an incredibly good district. And when you have this many teams, when we're talking about in November, when we're doing the warm up or doing any of our social media things, we could easily be talking about Denton Braswell, McKinney Boyd, or McKinney playing for the last playoff spot. Last year, it was Prosper versus Boyd playing for a playoff spot. Prosper did not have a playoff spot guaranteed. They won that game and then made it to the regional finals, almost beating Denton Guyer. So, I mean, Prosper is a very good team, and they're going to take some L's in this district. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if on any given night that a Braswell, a McKinney Boyd, or a McKinney knocked off one of the top 3 teams. But I think consistently those are going to be the teams you're going to see in that order. I think McKinney, for many people, is going to be a little bit of a controversial pick because they tied for last place last year, only going 1-5 in that district. But I think McKinney, with everything they've got coming back, some of the best triplets. We talked about DeSoto's offensive firepower. McKinney is right there as well with Kelter Cluster and Brian Jackson and some of those players that they've got just playing fantastic football, who are very highly recruited. But at the same time, they got to win on the field.
The teams I really want to talk about is Arlington Martin in Highland Park. You have Martin at 6, and you have Highland Park at 8. Highland Park is new to the 6A game, but are we going by reputation? Do you think they have the talent to pass some of these teams up that you have behind them, especially a Rockwall that a lot of people are high on because of their firepower? And when you talk about Arlington Martin, they are hungry this year more than I've ever seen them before, and they've really stacked that non-district. Is there a chance they could probably pop over 5 or 4?
I mean, you talk about Highland Park and where they should be ranked. If you and I know we're talking about different teams than last year, but Highland Park beat Rockwall last year. So I mean, we kind of see how Highland Park calibrates in the 6A with their performance last year. Now, at the end of the year, they lost to Frisco Wakeland, a little bit of an unexpected upset, which was Frisco Wakeland's signature win. But when you've got your quarterback coming back, and it's the Highland Park system, and they've got that defense that they have coming back. I think Highland Park has to be highly rated. But Highland Park is guaranteed to be a D2 team because they are the smallest team in their district. And with their district at 7-6A in the second round of the playoffs, they're looking at 5-6A, and that's Denton Geyer. So I think Highland Park has kind of a very limited ceiling. I mean, they got to beat Denton Geyer to get past the second round of the playoffs, and obviously, I think Denton Geyer is a little bit better. That's why I have them ranked a little bit higher. So Highland Park is going to be that interesting team because they've got Denton Geyer on the high end, but everybody else is below them. So they may go ahead and run the gauntlet and then run into Denton Geyer, and that's it for them. So I'll be very interested to see how they go. We're going to get a very early look at Arlington Martin. I know you're going to be out there week 1 checking them out against Lake Travis. We're going to get to have a DFW calibration against them. They play Allen in week 3. As a D1 team, they're going to most likely be seeing Allen again if they make a long playoff run. So Arlington Martin, I don't know if they have a very high ceiling either. I don't see them getting past an Allen, especially in the playoffs. But again, everybody else in their district, you can look at South Grand Prairie at number 23. That's their nearest competition. I think that they're pretty high above everybody else in their district. So it's going to be these non-district games against Lake Travis, against Allen, that's really going to give us an opportunity to see where Arlington Martin goes. But I don't know if Arlington Martin has the depth, but I think they're going to have a pretty gaudy record, and I definitely think they'll be there and be very competitive because Coach Wager will have something planned for everybody, a little wrinkle, a little special teams play. And coaching has always kept Arlington Martin. They're never out of anything, and that's why they continue to be ranked highly when it comes to these rankings, because they are in it every single year. Last year was a little bit of a down year, and they still had a pretty good year for a down year.
Lastly, really quick, talk about anybody in this top 25 that you think has the best chance to surprise some teams other than McKinney, because we talked about McKinney, that may be able to slide up the rankings with a good showing this year.
The one team that I'm looking at that I'm thinking to myself, man, did I underrate them? Are they going to just surprise everybody? Is Flower Mound Marcus. I think Marcus has a really good chance, and they have an early opportunity. They have a very, very rough non-district schedule with Highland Park, and as well they play South Lake Carroll. So I think we're going to get some answers into how good Flower Mound Marcus can be real early. But the more I read about their offense and Cole Welliver and Ashton Cozart and some of these really good players, I think you might start to see them creep up. Rockwall Heath is a team that I think I might have a little bit overrated just because they have so much unproven coming back, as well as a new coach. And I'm going to probably see them early on against Euless Trinity in week 2 to make sure, see where they calibrate. And then Euless Trinity has so many unknowns. I think that Trinity Heath game will hopefully give us some mid rankings calibration. Let us see if one of those teams excels and how the youth plays, and if there's any young players that might be coming up that we might need to keep an eye on. I think that'll be a fantastic game.
Thank you for doing this rankings thing. If y'all have problems, we have a comments button that you can set your comments to, and Diggs usually answers them if he feels like it. If it gets a little too hasty, he may back off because he's a little disrespectful at the mouth. But I appreciate you guys, you doing these rankings. And like I said, look for him every week. He'll rank a 5A, 6A, and the lower classifications as well. So I appreciate you, Diggs.
Thanks for having me, and it is football time in Texas.
Let's go.